for me anyway, I don't know how you guys feel, but it's very hard to imagine something dramatically different about the next incarnation of Excel. As things get more complicated in the world with big data and analytics, and all these opportunities are out there, but here's my question: is what about the talent? So according to our pals at McKinsey, there is going to be a talent gap, specifically in the area of analytical talent. And as a matter of fact, they are projecting that by 2018, you see the little graph there, a 50 to 60% gap in analytical talent relative to, or supply relative to demand. So what that translates to for all of us kind of data geeks, I guess, is we need to be on top of our game, and we really need to know how to manage all of these volumes and volumes of data that we just haven't seen in the past. So that is kind of how I see the future. The only constant in life is change, of course. We don't know who's going to claim the spreadsheet throne, but for example, VLOOKUPs. For those of you who are following the Power Pivot revolution, you know that when you create relationships in tables or Excel 2013 data models, it's kind of making VLOOKUP maybe not so important anymore, which just blows the minds of Excel geeks around the world.
5 years ago.
Well, yeah.
Right. So anyway, that's what I have to say about the history of Excel. So.
What do you think about that?
What do you guys think?
Well, it's an interesting history, and yeah, when you were dealing with Lotus 1, 2, 3, when I was just getting out of the Navy and going back to college to get a degree in philosophy, and then I went to Harvard to study public policy, so didn't do much spreadsheet stuff until about like 2001 when I started really dealing with Excel and data. But I like the question you come up around talent, and I haven't seen a statistic like that talking about a gap in the talent. Now that is interesting. So before I get into that, I know, Rick, what are you thinking about now?
Well, I think that whenever, back in the day, whenever I was cold calling for the Police Athletic League, trying to get money from them before going to get my degree at Florida Community College in Jacksonville, much different from Harvard. So before I was doing all that, before I had all that going on, I think that. To me, it's you either kind of get it or you don't. I mean, you like this stuff or you don't. You're a nerd for this stuff or you're not. And I'm fortunate that as I looked at that graph there, just what it says to me is if you can be on top of your game, man, you can get paid. If you can be on top of your game. If you're natural for this sort of stuff, if things like the other people here, like Szilvia and Oz and Jordan, whenever he's on, the face lights up and it's just kind of different. You're just excited about this stuff. You wanna put on your bow tie and put on your hat.
Like I did.
Say, yeah. Yeah. I mean, and if you got that passion, oh man, I won't preach. Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
I'll get my Florida Community College. Preach on. Hold on a minute.
Yeah.
I think if you got that passion, right?
Yeah.
Look at that graph and say, "Damn it, it's time to get paid."
Well,
that's what I see. Oh, I'm sorry, I get worked up.
And I do too because I enjoy it so much. But I mean, it's a deeper passion where I get a little misty sometimes. I teach a workshop one night, and then the next morning I get an email from an attendee that says, I look like a rock star today because I just made a canned pivot table and saved my boss. Yeah. The boss had given up on getting any kind of data. So you show him just a canned pivot table.
He given up, Oz. He gave up.
And right.
You showed him the light, man.
It's like raising the dead, because the dead hopes turned into inspiration and reality. They were able to do something and turn that information into actionable duties and turn it over and get the business going and making money.
Just pivot tables and shit. Man, working me up.
Right, yeah. But see, I agree that you either got it or you don't. And you like this these personality things, the INTJ and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think you gotta be kind of in your head dealing with symbols, and I don't think it's so easy for certain personalities to get this, right? Because if you are more of a people person, and that is not a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing at all. But here's what I would add to this conversation. I agree, either you got it or you don't. But I also think it's increasingly important that even if you don't got it, there's some level that you have to start getting it. Otherwise, because if you don't, then you will be left in the dust by your competitors, or because somebody else will be better at processing all of the data that's out there available, and they're going to be able to make smarter, better decisions. So if you know you don't got it, and if you hate
better get it. You
gotta get it, or you gotta get with somebody that does. Is all I'm saying.
I heard this. I can't remember where this quote came from, but I heard this saying one time. Maybe you guys have heard it too. It says, "You have no competitive advantage in your business except for how you use your data." Absolutely. That is really, when it comes down to it, your only competitive advantage. If you buy a new plant, guess what? If your competition has that money, they can buy a new plant too. If you're rolling out a new marketing, whatever, guess what? If your competition has the money, they can do it too. Pretty much everything they can replicate, for the most part, you move for move, except for the way you use your data. If you think you're buying a CRM system as your competitive advantage, no, that's the competitive advantage for the person who sold you that system. That's their competitive advantage. That's not your advantage. Right. And I think how you use your data is really the only advantage that you have. And being smarter at it, and if you don't got it, get it. Find somebody who's got it, steal it, learn it, breathe it, eat it.
Well, there's two things. Is one where I started to really get deep into Excel was because I had a director who was a people person, and he was clear that he was a people person, but he needed data. So I didn't know what he was doing over a few months by giving me stuff and asking me to get different things. But he was a people person who realized his strength. He needed a data person, and he needed somebody that could get data for him fast, because the company had people that could get data and get it really clean in the way he needed, but he might have to wait a week. Okay, train eyes to do it. Just a half-assed job of getting the data out of the database, and then I could do what I need to do with Excel. But there's another thing too that I want to be fair about is I have dealt with businesses where data isn't a priority. Things are good enough. They aren't looking to take over the world. Enough money is coming in to cover what needs to go out, and I can go buy a Mercedes, and things will be okay. So, there are those, and I've learned to just respect them.
Agreed.
Agreed.
I mean, after that rant I just went on, it's kind of anticlimactic for me to say, yeah, you got a good point. Okay, you got a good point. But I think particularly, Oz, if you're dealing with a 3-person company.
I knew. That was the next thing.
If you're dealing with that 3-person company, and what they're doing is they're running the convenience store, and running the convenience store, you don't need to have crazy macros and stuff like that all running in the background to make. You need to know how to deal with the customer a little bit better. So, I agree with you. I would say anticlimactic. Yeah, you got a point.
Well, here's something that I will say. Well, no, Szilvia, were you going to say something?
I was going to say that I was waiting to see when the 3-person company joke was coming. But also, But also, yes, it's not even just in small companies. In big companies, you have people who just aren't, they're people. I'm a people person. I don't want to deal with but at some stage, you still have to get it because somebody else is going to get it better than you.
Yeah. And here's one thing that came up because this has been a real discussion, and I have a friend, Deirdre Grundler, who deals with companies that are in various phases of transition. And I've seen this where the parents start a successful company.
Mm-hmm.
And they are getting older, they want to do something else, but they still have their hands in it. And the kids take over, and the kids want technology. They want data. They want to know when the red powder is almost empty, and know that other than by going and looking in the bin.
Red powder? What kind of three-person companies are you working with? Just
Red
kidding.
Powder
I kid the Oz.
So,
there's a story here.
No,
I want to know a little more about this red powder.
Hell yeah, let's talk about it.
What color is it when it's not red, Oz? No, I kid.
Prophesize.
Continue. I'm kid the Oz.
Right.
I'm sorry.
So, the kids are taking over, and there is tension between the parents who've done it forever, and they started with no spreadsheets. PCs didn't exist. Why now? What, spend money on this? No, we've been doing fine, and we got money, and everything's great. And so Deirdre was talking about how there are a lot of companies that face exactly that. And her role is to come in and help the transition to go over so that the technology can be accepted without the parents feeling like it's a big FU to them.
That's a huge task. Culture is a very, very powerful thing.
Yeah.
And so this example you're talking about, that was ingrained in that, this is how we did it for years and years and years. And what do you know? This whippersnapper is going to come tell me how to do things. I mean, I've been there. It's a very difficult. I can tell you. Listen, when I worked in Hungary, so I was ingenue working for Arthur Andersen in Budapest, and they would send me out to the sticks, right? Like these companies that were like Soviet era. I'm talking like, first of all, at the time, anyway, maybe our pals at the Frankens team can correct me now, but at the time, it's like there were no words in Hungarian for like productivity and efficiency. And, so it was very difficult to like have conversations with people. Number one, but number two, just the concept of a financial statement was foreign to some of these people because they had been doing things a certain way for years and years and years, and and then somebody from another country is going to come in and try to tell them how to run their business. So it's a very, and this is actually very relevant to the Excel consulting business because you run into that all the time. People get very ingrained in a certain way of doing things, and you try to introduce something new, and it's a very delicate operation. I mean, I had to somehow convince these people to prepare financial statements, and it's like, what's a financial statement? What a profit and loss, and it's like the American manager at Arthur Andersen would be like, well, just go manuals written by somebody in Chicago. What do they know about what goes on in Eastern Europe? So that's
no offense, Oz. No offense, Oz.
No offense, Oz. I wish I had known you back then because maybe you could have talked
somebody
some
else
sense
in
into
Chicago,
these people.
somebody we don't like.
But what those experiences taught me were very, I mean, I got the brunt of it right at the start of my career. But I still experience that today. On a smaller scale, at least here, in the good old USA. People know what a P&L is, and things have changed in Hungary since that time too. But it was a real lesson in being sensitive to those types of things. Yeah. So if somebody's been doing things in that 3-person company, they've been running things a certain way for 20 years. You gotta be sensitive to that.
And yeah, because I may have mentioned before the company I went to. It was more than 4 people.
No, that sounds sketchy to me.
They were running everything off of cards, little cards in drawers,
Do you work in a library?
That's adorable.
What is this? Decimal system?
We decimal system?
It was some friends back in the 60s started a business that still goes on today and is very successful. And when they talk about bringing in a database and all kind of technology, they wonder, well, what are we going to do with the lady that does the cards? She's been our friend since the 60s when we started this thing. And all I had to do, I had to respect it.
That's terrible. We shouldn't be laughing.
Oh, because they said, the accountant says we're never wrong. They never have any complaints about us. The accountant complains about the other client. But our friend from back in the 60s with these little cards has been impeccable. And all I can do is step back and respect it.
I can just imagine, though. Imagine that company were like, we're going to get some new cell phones for everybody. Like, oh, man, what are we going to do with that lady who's running the switchboard? It's just...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and I think we run into those things in our business, too, because, like, is that going to be the next, when the power pivot revolution really takes steam and, are we... Like, you have to go in and tell people that amazing, spreadsheet system that they developed where it's 20 interlinked that is going to be a thing of the past because there's a better way to do it now. So I think that those things will continue to be a challenge.
And I'm still trying to get my mind around power pivot because, when I hear about it being good for large sets of data.
Yes.
And a lot of people have really small, complicated data.
Yes.
So I haven't felt a real pressure to go toward power pivot. Like, I felt a pressure to learn VBA and a pressure to get deeper into pivot tables and a pressure to learn more complex formulas and to learn to parse data. But I haven't felt a pressure that has finally said, you know what, okay, I've got to learn power pivot or else I'm going to be dead in the water. Because I deal with somebody. Yeah, so I'm curious about it. I'm not nixing it, but I'm still waiting for this.
Right.
Okay, like you say, getting rid of the VLOOKUP. Well, when somebody's got, 75 rows and...
Yeah, it's not going to be for every situation. I agree. Right. There's still going to be a need for, it's not going to address every need. Completely agreed.
Right.
Rick, you with me on that?
Hey, I'm with you.
Okay.
But then, too, this gap, going back to that, there are people who got it.
Mm-hmm.
I want about how we identify the people who got it so that they can be shined up and turned into data superstars. Because we had Kedra Cheney on, and she's teaching a course soon. Oh, she's teaching a course, I think it's coming up in July or August, and she does practical data analytics, and she deals with people who haven't been trained to work with data.
That's an interesting question. How do you approach training people who don't have a lot of? Let's bring it back to Excel. So you don't have a lot. Here's my suggestion. Because I do different level. I do all kinds of Excel training, as you guys all know. And one of the challenges a lot of times that I run into is, well, we're intermediate. What do those things even mean, right? So here's my top tip. You can give it as many sriracha bottles as you like for testing whether somebody's truly an intermediate Excel user. I have found that you time them to see how long it takes them to create a multiplication table using Excel, because they have using one formula. So you have going across the top row, you have numbers 1 through 10. Going down the column A, you have numbers 1 through 10. How long is it going to take you to create a multiplication table? Because you have to understand relative and absolute referencing to do that. The dollar signs.
Yeah.
I have found that there's my giveaway. If you are an Excel trainer and you are struggling to figure out where your class is at, make them do a multiplication table, because it's all about the dollar signs, and if they know what they're doing, it should take them about 15 seconds. So, armed with this.
Well, I got to tell you, Szilvia, I think that's a great tip and a great segue over to our next section.
Right?